a long-term vision needs to be understandable. It should be understandable to the general public as well as the scientific community. So this has got to be something simple and easy to digest. In some way it needs to be inspirational. It should inspire those living in and around the water system to believe that they can improve the condition of the environment. It needs to be aspirational. It should encourage development parties to strive towards that vision. It should be ambitious. It should challenge those involved and try to make a difference. But equally, at the same time, it needs to be attainable. If it's impossible, then people will get disheartened and they just won't go with it. So, a long-term vision should try to meet all of those ideas, yeah. Difficult. It's actually really, really difficult to come up with good long-term visions. And I'm going to give you an example of a few in a minute, and you can make your own mind up as to whether you think they're good, bad, or indifferent. So here's the first one I'm going to show you. This is the Black Sea from 2009. This is the Black Sea Environmental Rehabilitation Programme. This is the third round of funding, so the third jet intervention for the Black Sea. And they revised their TDA and they developed a new technical SAP. They never got their SAP to a completed version during their project, which was a terrible shame. So the TDA, the vision for the Black Sea SAP, the vision for the Black Sea is to preserve its ecosystem as a valuable natural endowment of the region, whilst ensuring the protection of its marine and coastal living resources as a condition for sustainable development of the Black Sea coastal states, its well-being, health and security of their population. Okay, that's one take on it, 2009. I was involved in this project quite heavily, and I'll come back to whether we think these are good or bad in a minute. But the Nubian Aquifer, 2012. The vision for the Nubian sandstone aquifer system adopted by the countries is to ensure rational and equitable management of the NSAS for sustainable socio-economic development and the protection of biodiversity and land resources while ensuring no detrimental effects on the shared aquifer countries. Okay? Western Indian Ocean SAP, 2009. People of the region prospering from a healthy Western Indian Ocean. Quite snappy. You reduce the... I don't think you could take any more words out of it. It's a haiku. It's a haiku, yeah, it's like a haiku. Mekong River Basin SAP, 2006. An economically prosperous, socially just, and environmentally sound Mekong River Basin. Again, it's got a haiku sound to it. It's a very short one. Lake Victoria, 2007. A prosperous population living in a healthy and sustainable managed environment providing equitable opportunities and benefits. Lake Chad, 2008. So these are all quite recent ones. Lake Chad region would like to see by the year 2025 the Lake Chad common heritage and other wetlands maintained at sustainable levels to ensure the economic security of freshwater ecosystem resources, sustained biodiversity and aquatic resources of the basin, the use of which should be equitable to serve the needs of the population of the basin, thereby reducing the poverty level. That's quite good. Okay, so thoughts. What are your thoughts about these? You've got them in your manuals in front of you. What do you think of these?
They sound okay. Some of them sound very ambitious. Generally, they sound okay, and I guess it depends on the social or the economy or the vision that they all have for each particular project. Some of them sound very vague to me, some others sound very ambitious. So.
Yeah, fair point.
todas visiones que tienen distintos alcances, algunas no tienen ningún horizonte de tiempo, otras son como demasiado ambiciosas. A mí me llama mucho la atención la de Mar Negro cuando habla de preservar, porque preservar es mantener el tiempo indefinidamente, y eso es irreal en la naturaleza. Ese es un término que a mí me causa cierta urticaria cuando dice preservemos el ecosistema, preservemos la especie, y si lo vemos a lo largo del tiempo, cientos, miles de años, eso no va a ser nunca así. Está condenado a un fracaso, digamos, usar el término preservar, según un punto de vista. Tal vez conservar u otro. Tampoco se pone como un horizonte de tiempo, que es muy importante. Y otras son demasiado sintéticas que no dicen nada. A mí me gusta un poco más la última, realmente.
Me gustaría complementar lo que dijo mi colega en el sentido de que efectivamente cuando una empieza a definir visiones, misiones y esos ejercicios que se hacen, digamos, para establecer ya sea una política, una estrategia, es bueno, o creo yo que sería recomendable considerar cuando se habla de conservar, preservar esos términos, las definiciones establecidas en el convenio internacional o definiciones, digamos, que sean ampliamente aceptadas. De manera que con eso uno va estableciendo el cuadro o el marco de trabajo donde se va a mover. Efectivamente hay una diferencia entre preservar y conservar.
Yo por el contrario, como visiones, yo compro la corta, la del océano Índico, la del río Mekong, me parecen bastante claras, fáciles, comprensibles. Hay otras como la del lago Chaco, los mamíferos, que son tremendamente complicadas y difíciles de aceptar y bastante largas y incomprensibles. Un montón de deseos, pero que se focalizan de una manera corta, me parece a mí como visión.
I take on board everything you said. Actually, I think there's a real difficulty here. The short ones quite often have become short because of political input. So they might have started out long and they've gradually been reduced because people don't want to see words like preserved or whatever. So you end up with shorter ones. The shorter ones often are easier to understand, but then don't necessarily always get the message across as to what exactly the project's trying to achieve, or the SAP's trying to achieve. And on the other hand, the long ones can then paint projects, or can paint the SAP into a corner, because it puts things in there that are sometimes, if they're not achieved in 25 years, then what? Then you're seen as a failure. An example, I'll pass it to you in a moment. An example of this is the previous Black Sea. The TDA, the original TDA of the Black Sea was done in 1996, and their SAP was about 1998. And they had a vision statement in there that stated categorically that they would return the Black Sea to levels of the 1960s. That was never going to happen. It was a completely impossible. The ecosystem had changed beyond any chance of ever recovering to that. It's never going to go back to the 1960s. And how can any ecosystem go back to what it was? It will always be different. It's the nature of it. So what they've done is they put themselves in a situation, an impossible situation. So then essentially everything else in the SAP was unachievable because it couldn't achieve the vision they stated. So.
Martín, tal vez yo tengo una visión un poco diferente en relación a la visión que presenta para el Mar Negro y estos sistemas. Creo yo que el error está en que nosotros debemos de plantear una visión sobre los seres humanos, no sobre los ecosistemas. En la de la Victoria más o menos habla de los humanos, pero creo que es la visión desde el ser humano, desde los usuarios en este caso, ¿no? Donde nosotros, digamos que nosotros, que como seres humanos, no sé, deberíamos ser más justos o no sé qué, Pero porque eso es lo más o menos controlable, creo yo. Y esa sería una visión a largo plazo manejable, porque nosotros somos los como integrantes del ecosistema los que causamos el impacto y contradictoriamente queremos no causarlo, no queremos afectarlo, pero en realidad siempre nos vamos a afectar. Entonces nuestra visión debe ser de nosotros como humanos, no como grupo. Cuánto queremos crecer, cuánto queremos impactar tal vez, cuánto queremos ser más justos o menos justos, pero de nosotros, creo yo, más que del pobre ecosistema de los lagos o de los ríos, más que somos nosotros.
Okay, that's a good point. Right. You're going to have an opportunity to test out maybe your hypothesis in the next two microphones. Good. Okay, so there's another thing to consider is this is just the start of the process. So your vision will have a set of goals, and the goals are going to be more specific, and then ultimately there will be objectives to meet the goals, and the objectives will be more specific and time dependent than the goals, and each objective will have probably a series of actions that will be even more specific. So this is kind of a cascade. Okay, so with that in mind, let's pop forward. So I might put on a two-step process. So a process was defining a vision. One is it's a workshop again, a group discussion or group work around this to come up with a vision. And then drafting the vision statement based on the outputs from step one. You can do this through a collaborative workshop, as I said. You get together the right people that represent stakeholders, and this also can be run, this activity can be run at the same time goals are identified, which we'll be doing in a little while. Okay, so there's a lot more to it than just this, but again, that's described in the manual, which you've got access to, certainly the English version. But what we're going to do, well, let's just come on to stage two. The second step is then what's going to happen through that collaborative workshop is that there's going to be a series of visions developed that maybe are then kind of amalgamated into something, but there's going to be a lot of text, and then it's going to require somebody, a group of people, to pull all of that together into one vision, which then needs to be circulated to everybody so they can have some agreement on it, and then that will then need to go out for some form of probably consultation and beyond that as well. So this is a step-by-step process. Okay, is that okay? You good with that? Okay.